Okay, good morning. So yesterday we started Reish Yud Aleph, the Dinei Kadima Birchas Aperes, when you have a whole plate of fruit in front of you, and what takes priority? What order do you make the brachas in? And in the Hakdama, the Mishnah Berurah, he explains that there is a machlekes between the Chaim and Rabbi Yehuda, and that is that if there's a plate of fruit, and amongst them there are Shivas Haminim, then there's a machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and Chaim, which comes first. So Rabbi Yehuda says, if there is Shivas Haminim there, then Shivas Haminim comes first. That takes priority over the other ones. The Chachamim say the Mavarech on whichever one you want. So that is the machlekes between the Chaim and Rabbi Yehuda. And there is a machlekes how we pasken that the Mechaber and other Rishonim pasken like Rabbi Yehuda, and that is really the halach in Sif Aleph. And the Rambam, however, paskens like the Chachamim that you go after Chaviv. I think it's that around. Yeah, that's right. Rabbi Yehuda holds min shiva odif, and therefore you go after the shivas haminim. So, for example, you've got a grape and an apple on a plate. Which bracha do you make? That is the machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. Rabbi Yehuda says min shiva odif, the shivas haminim comes first, and therefore you make on the grape. And the Chachamim say you actually make on chaviv, whichever one you prefer. And if you prefer the apple, you make it on that. And that is the machlekes between the Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim, and the machlekes between Sif Aleph and Sif Beis. The Rambam paskens like the Chachamim that min chaviv is odif. Okay, that is what we saw yesterday. Now let's go to Gimel. Heviu lefonov davar shebirchaso beripro eitz v'davar shebirchaso shehakol. So let's say they bring you something which is a beripro eitz, and you've got a shehakol in front of you. The rule is beirei priho eitz kodemes. So, for example, let's say you've got an apple, and you've got a drink, a cup of lemon tea, a glass of lemon tea. So what do you do? Beripro eitz or shehakol. Says the Mechaber, Beripro eitz kodemes, shehi chashuva, it's more of a choshev bracha, she'ena peteres el adova echod, because it's more limiting, it's only, it's specific for priho eitz. V'chein, and so too, turning over the page, Beripro adoma for shehakol, if you have in front of you a hadom and a shehakol, Beripro adoma kodemes, because it's more of a specific bracha. V'im hiviu lefonov priho eitz or priho adoma, if the clash is ha'etz and adoma, then two opinions in the Shulchan Aruch. First opinion is no preference, you choose whatever you prefer. The Beripro eitz is kaidem, which seems to be the minhag as the Mishnah Berurah explains. Okay, so what have we said in Gimel? We've said if you have in front of you a Beripro eitz and a shehakol, Beripro eitz wins. If you have a Beripro adoma and a shehakol, Beripro adoma wins. If you have Beripro eitz, Beripro adoma, two opinions in the Shulchan Aruch. One says whichever one you want, the other one says Beripro eitz comes first. Okay, let's do the Mishnah Berurah on that. Gimel, Beripro eitz. So you have in front of you a Beripro eitz and a shehakol, the Beripro eitz comes first. Va'afilu min hasheni chaviv olav. Even if the second min is more chaviv to you, shehi chashuva, because the Beripro eitz is considered more significant. Pirush, the Berachas Beripro eitz, mevayreres, it's more specific. Because the bracha of shehakol is more of a general one. Now, what's the svara? What's the svara to say that a beripro eitz is more of a specific bracha and therefore it comes first? So, if you look in the footnote 12, apologies, just because it's more specific and more limited, it gives it more chashivas than a bracha koileles, which is the shehakol. Bia halavush, mipnei shehabracha hamiyuchedes marbe b'shvachal shel Hashem yosim koileles. A bracha which is more specific is actually giving more shvach to HaKadosh Baruch Hu than a general bracha. Shahari meir al hashkacha pratis shayisbarach mashkiach al b'riyosov b'dav zeh hamiyuchet b'shevach elo yosim leachis kol chai. In other words, I'll give you a mashal. Let's say you have a guest comes for Shabbos meal. At the end of the meal, there's two ways of saying thank you. Either you can say, thank you very, very much for the meal, it was all very tasty. Very nice, okay, that's nice, that's a general bracha. Or you can say, thank you very much for the meal, that potato kickle was outstanding. The texture, the taste, whatever, and the potato, it's a more specific bracha, and you ask the balabusta, she'll feel more happy with that second one because it's more specific. What I think the Levush is saying is that if you make a ber pro eitz and a shahakol, if you got the clash, the halacha says you make a shahakol, you make a ber pro eitz first, because it's a bracha muvareres, which means it's more specific. Says the Levush, you're highlighting the hashkoch of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that this specific fruit came your way. More than a general bracha of shakol niya bidvar, it's a general hashkocha. So that's why the ber pro eitz comes before the shahakol. Okay. And so too, if you've got a ber pri adoma in front of you and a shahakol, the ber pri adoma comes first. Says Mishbura Sivkot Tezayin, Chashuv nami mishahakol, the mevarer b'habrocha rak mini pri adoma, because this is specific to fruits of the ground, the ber pri adoma. Mashenkin shahakol to kelel sakol, it's a general, more broad, encompassing bracha. V'alkein k'shemevim lefonov yayin strof imerkachas. So therefore, if you have a schnapps, let's say a shahakol, with mirkachas, which with some sort of mezainis or some sort of dish, yivarach al mirkachas tchila after yain straf chovel of yosef. Okay, the mirkachas probably means a ber pri adoma. So say for example you have potato kigel and you have a glass of whiskey or something. So then you make the ber pri adoma first, even though you like the whiskey, and that's more chaviv to you. Nonetheless, you make the ber pri adoma first. So that's the application of this ruling. Now, what if you've got the ber pro eitz and the ber pri adoma? You've got those two in front of you. So two opinions in the Shulchan Aruch. One opinion is eis mehen sheyirtze yakdim, whichever you prefer, you goes first. That's Yud Zayin. Says, or the second opinion is ber pro eitz comes first. So on the eis mehen sheyirtze, says the Mishnah Berurah Yud Zayin, ve'ein tolu klal b'chaviv. And there's no, according to this opinion, whichever one you want, either ber pro eitz, ber adoma comes first. There's no chavivus, that's not relevant. L'dei rishon shebesif aleph, t'ha'ein birchasem shabbos, because these brachas are not the same, they're two different items, and chaviv is only a factor if you've got equal brachas. That's according to this opinion. You've got to say that they're both equally chaviv to him, and therefore eizem hen sheyirtzeh. However, v'yesh oimrim ber pro eitz kodem, the ber pro eitz comes before the ber pri adoma. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Sivkot Yudches, v'hiskimu achreinim denochen nina k'yesh oimrim hazeh im shneim shavim b'chavivus. So you've got, for example, an apple and a banana in front of you. The apple is ber pro eitz, the banana is ber pri adoma. There are two opinions in the Mishnah Berurah. There are two opinions in the Shulchan Aruch. The first is eizeh mehem sheyirtze yakdim. The second is ber pro eitz comes first. Says the Mishnah Berurah that if they're both chaviv to you, then you should actually make the ber pro eitz first and have the apple first. However, in pri adoma chaviv, if you particularly fancy the banana, yoser, then mevarech ala chaviv, then the ber pri adoma comes first. Kanal b'sif aleph. In pri adoma who min shiva, and so too if the pri adoma is a min shiva. Here's a good quiz question: How could you ever have a min shiva, one of the shivas aminim, which is a ber pri adoma? Because surely it's either going to be mezainas, chitim and seirim, or it's going to be ber pro eitz. So how can you ever have ber pri adoma for min shiva? Good quiz question. Kagoin says Mishnah Berurah, kloye shel chitim, you can have whole oats. We've spoken about it. Sometimes if you've got like in sugar puffs, that's if you have a mezainas like a chitim and seirim, but you have whole oats, then you actually make a ber pri adoma on it. We've discussed that in Hilchos Brachos previously. Right? If it hasn't been crushed and processed to become flour, you still make a ber adoma. So in short, ber pro eitz and shahakol, ber pri adoma and shahakol, the ber pro eitz or the ber pri adoma win, because it's a bracha mevureres. If you have ber pro eitz and ber pri adoma against each other, two opinions in the Shulchan Aruch. The first is eis mehen sheyirtze yakdim. The second is the ber pro eitz is kodim, and that seems to be the preference of the Mishnah Berurah, so long as the other one is not chaviv. That's only if they're equally chaviv. If the ber pri adoma is more chaviv, or if it's shivas haminim, then the ber pri adoma comes first. Now that must be a chiddush. For me, it's a chiddush really. If you've got an apple and a banana, I would always go with the apple. That's a ber pro eitz. That's a bracha mevureres. That's really what the Mishnah Berurah. But that's only true if they're equally chaviv. If you particularly want that banana, then actually the ber pri adoma comes first, says the Mishnah Berurah.
Yeah. Shahakol is made from a min shiva.
Yeah, but once it's got a din of shakal, then it's...
Says it.
Yeah, what's he
On the
saying?
bottom of the previous page.
That if
Test.
what...
Test is very interesting.
In
bottom
Tess... In Tess, yeah. V'chein hu adin, din pri adam, v'chazar pri megadim, dafilim adov sheberchazar shakal, imu kumin shiva, kagain duvshu de tamra, afilu hachi pri adam adiv. So the hadama always trumps.
Interesting.
Even if the shahakal happens to be on the shivas aminim, for example, it's honey from from dates. Why it's chaviv?
Say you put on some stomach.
And you want to have a banana to say.
Normally it would be choshev.
Yeah.
This is doing it.
So we had yesterday the machlekas. How do you define chaviv? Is it you generally like these things, or is it right now I want this? And that was a machlekas between the Rambam and the Mechaber. So it would be subject to that, I suppose. Okay, that was Gimel. Let's go weiter. Dalet. Kol ha-koidim b'posuk. So this is the famous halacha. Kol ha-koidim b'posuk eretz chita v'sa'ira koidim l'bracha. So you've got a few shivas haminim, fruit or things in front of you. Whatever is earlier on in the posuk or closer to the word eretz is koidim l'bracha. It has priority in brachas. V'eretz basra hifsika. And remember, you've got two eretz in the pasuk, and the eretz basra hifsika inyan, it breaks it up. And whatever is closer to the second eretz and is further away from the first eretz has kadima. Hilkach. Therefore, tamarim koidmim la'anovim. Why? Because it's eretz chita v'sa'ira gefen v'te'ein v'rimoin. So anovim is 3 away from the first eretz, and then eretz chita v'sa'ira. Eretz zeis shemen udvas. So zeis shemen is 1, is olive, and dvash, which is tomar, which is dates, is 2 away from the second eretz. So tomar is 2 away from the second eretz. It beats grapes, which are 3 away from the first eretz. So if you've got dates and grapes in front of you, then the dates come first because they're 2 away from the second eretz as opposed to 3 away from the first eretz of the olives. Shazeh sheni le'eretz basra, because it's 2 from the second eretz. V'zeh shlishi le'eretz kamo. Okay, let's just do the Mishnah Berurah on that. Kol ha-koidim. Steve Cotton Yudalet, Yutes. The mikra zeh choyshiv haminim shenishtabchu b'hen Eretz Yisrael. This pasuk talks about the fruit which are praised, the fruit of Eretz Yisrael. V'chol ha-mukdam b'pasuk hu yoseh choshev me'amucha. Whatever is earlier on in the pasuk has muchashivas. The fichach who koidin lebracha, therefore he gets priority in bracha. V'chita v'sa'ira dekra koidin l'shar minim hu dafka she'osmen tafshil. Now, when we say chitim and sa'irim have priority, that's dafka if you make something from them. Lahara poskim, like uchad b'sifhei. Okay, we'll get there in Hashem. Koidin lebracha af shamin hasheni hu chaviv yoseh. Even if the second min is more choshev. So say, for example, you like grapes more than you like dates, still, this halacha tells me that the dates come first, as we've explained. That's only when the fruit is fully ripe. If it's not yet ripe, it's sort of a premature olive. Even though it's in order, it's first after the second eretz. It's only the praise is only when it's fully developed and not when it's in an unripe form. Eretz basra, tzachenu seida hamikra chaf aleph, eretz chita v'sayir v'gefen v'teina v'rimoin, eretz zeishem l'dvash. When eretz shebe'emtza havi haschola seida, you sort of reboot, you start the clock again. V'chol hasomach lo yichoshev yosem yamech hasheberetz kama. Okay, good. Tamarim koidmin, the dvash shebekra hu tamarim sheyetz min dvash, like we've said. Okay, now let's do the Ramah. V'dafka, says the Ramah, she'oichel anovim kumushehin. That's dafka when you eat grapes whole. But if you make wine out of grapes, which Chazal have been kovea a separate bracha, that's considered very choshev, and therefore you make a new bracha on that. And because it comes earlier in the pasuk, chitim and sa'irim come earlier. Okay, so therefore that's the rule, that the mezonos comes before the bori pri gefen. So let's do the Mishnah Berurah on that. So the bori pri gefen comes before zeisim. Shehi rishon le'eretz basra. So even though grapes number 3 after Oretz, and therefore if you have olives and grapes, you'd go for the olives first. Nonetheless, because wine has got a special bracha b'fnei atzmo, it sort of trumps and it sort of leapfrogs the olives, and you would make the bracha first on that. Chaf Dalet, hi chashuva gam shegam berachas b'minei mezonos hi bracha meveres, because the bracha of mezonos is in bracha meveres is more of a specific bracha, k'me berachas hayayin, v'hari hi kedemes l'yayin b'kro. Now, here's something very interesting. What?
So why don't we? We should make Mazonos before Kiddush.
So that's about what I was going to say. So therefore, that is one of the reasons why we cover the challahs, right? Because strictly speaking, the Mazonos should come before the Hamotzi, which is the same thing, should come before the Ber Pragofen. However, on Kiddush on Friday night, we can't. You've got to make Kiddush first, right? Before you can eat anything. So therefore, one of the reasons why we cover the challahs is we shouldn't have busha, the past shouldn't be embarrassed, and therefore the shaila is, what about Mazonos? Shabbos morning Kiddush. You're making Kiddush and you've got some rogalach or whatever. Do you have to cover the Mazonos?
Yeah.
So this is rather the same. So take a look at number 17. Look at this. Look at number 17. Look at this. Amazing. Number 17. Uma'acha shebirchas Mazonos kedemes lebirchas hayayin. Since the bracha Mazonos comes before wine, Kosav HaKitz Shulchan Aruch, Sha'amekadesh v'akach oichel Mazonos. Someone who makes Kiddush and then eats cake, Mazonos, roglech, whatever, tzorech lechases ha-Mazonos b'shas ha-Kiddush, for the same reason. Or Kamoshe Kosav Shulchan Aruch lekamon, now we're going to get there, and it's Hashem, sheyesh lechases ha-pas b'shas ha-Kiddush. We covered the challah at the time of Kiddush. V'tam ha'dov v'huv Mishnah Berurah, the Mishnah Berurah explains over there, b'shem ha-Yerushalmi, shelo yira ha-pas es boishtoi. It's one of the reasons we cover the challahs in Kiddush, is that the pas shouldn't see its embarrassment, and therefore we cover it. We shouldn't see that the Kiddush is being made first. And therefore for the same reason. And that's why I've always looked, when I go to Mesha'arim in these places, I've always looked for like a challah dekel, which says on it, Berminei Mazonos or something. Or, you don't find it. Kavod Shabbos Kodesh or whatever. But the halacha, you should... what? Yeah.
Parents have one. I'm not sure if it says they have a dafka for Kiddush.
Dafka for Kiddush?
Yeah.
And they have it for cake?
Yeah.
Okay, very good, beautiful.
What do you do at Kiddush though?
Okay, if you can't, you can't. Yeah, well, you're going to cover the whole thing, yeah. Okay, so let's just finish off. V'nokat haramo. We're 1, 2, 3, 4 lines down in the Mishnah Berurah, the ends of the line. V'nokat haramo mechameshes minidogon lashmienu. Da'af kusmim v'shibod shul v'shipoin k'goyin hanase mehen gamken kodmen liyayin. So that's useful to know. If you have spelt or other types of Mazonos, any of the 5 grains have kadima over wine. The heim gamken bichlal chitim esorim. Okay, la'achar sheshava meloshen ze mashma the chitim esorim the koden who rak me'ashavolem besmichal aretz k'me chitim lezeisim esorim ledvash shu tomorrow. Avos soirim who mozen shananasim mehen k'mesh fresh besifei lezeisim lei. Aval halavush kosav the birchas berminei Mazonos he kedemes lakol v'chein iskimu harbe achronim, and that's how we do it, and that's how Moshe paskins as well. So just to summarize what we've said today, we've said that if you have in Gimel, we said that if you have ber pro eitz and shahakol, or ber pro adoma and shahakol, the ber pro eitz or the ber pro adoma come before the shahakol. If you've got ber pro eitz and ber pro adoma, then 2 opinions in the Shulchan Aruch. The first is eizem hem sheyetzu yagdim. But the Mishnah Berurah favors the second opinion, the Yesh Omrim, that Ber Pri Eitz comes before Ber Pri Adoma, unless the Ber Pri Adoma is Choviv. Okay, so you've got an apple and a banana, the apple comes first, unless you particularly like the banana, or the Ber Pri Adoma is of the Shivas Aminim, like we described. In Halacha Dalet, we've said that the famous rule of Eretz, Chita, V'Seira, etc., that whatever is closest to the Eretz comes first. Eretz Chita v'Seretz, therefore the Mazonos always comes first, and then you have what's close to the second one is Zais, Shemen, which is olives, then Tamarim, which is Dvash, and then grapes. That's the order, and then Teina v'Rimoin. And regarding covering the challahs, really the Mazonos, the Ber Pri Gofen, even though it's later, comes before the Shivas HaMinim, and the Mazonos comes before the Ber Pri Gofen. However, one of the reasons why we cover the challahs, like the Yerushalmi says in Reish Aleph, brought by the Mishnah Berurah, is because that is not so that they shouldn't be embarrassed. That's one of the reasons, and that's and then we saw in the footnote that it's extended to Mazonos as well. Amazing.
Still doesn't answer why. So is bushes. So is the.
Yeah. When was the last time you saw an upset challah? Right. Okay, that's a separate shayla. Rabbi Lef's got a whole piece on this, but not for now. I'll say that.